shit, here we go again.
Alright lads, strap yourself in and snort your blood pressure meds, because this one's gonna be bumpy. Despite how fantastic Silksong is overall, I did not push through this game just to give you some generic milquetoast opinion that completely aligns with the status quo, like so many other content creators nowadays. Granted, this video might flop harder than my grandma down the stairs, but luckily for you, I love to argue, and am fully prepared for the inevitable backlash that's coming my way. So get your pitchforks ready boys, and let's dive right in. Here's an easy question. Which of these three would you say is the most beautiful moment a person could experience? 1. Watching your daughter walking down the aisle. 2. A colorblind person seeing colors for the first time. Or 3. The art design of Silksong. Well, anyone who's been to Metroidvania would immediately know that Silksong is clearly the superior option. I mean, just look at it. This game is like Lucy Liu in her prime levels of visually appealing. And even the areas that are intentionally designed to look like your college dorm room are more aesthetically satisfying than most games that Ubisoft seems to release nowadays. My favorite section hands down has to be the bottom of the citadel that looks like a steampunk plumber was tasked with redesigning the buzzsaw pit from Mortal Kombat 3. It's almost impossible to get visually bored playing this game. Not only because of how starkly unique the level designs are, but also the enemy variety too. This game has more diversity than a modern Disney movie, and the variety of enemies really adds to the feeling of this being a living world with its own story to tell. The fact that this game includes goth Caterpies, the Temu version of Big Daddies from Bioshock, and even your stepmom, all in one, should tell you everything you need to know about the enemy variety in this game. The platforming of Silksong is absolutely phenomenal too, as it strikes the perfect balance of challenge and satisfaction. If you've been hankering for a game to make autistic ninja noises to while you hop around like a geriatric jumping spider on crystal meth, well then whoa boy, is this game perfect for you. The platforming of this game was so good in fact, that I actually felt way more excited whenever I'd unlocked new mobility skills over those related to combat. A testament to how much emphasis went into making sure traversal was its own engaging feature, and not just something you do to get through the game. The platforming of this game is rivaled only by its amazing musical score. Something that shouldn't surprise you if you ever played the first. In fact, the music was so good that I actually got annoyed with how short some of the tracks were. Kind of like that time your girlfriend did that thing with ice but accidentally choked and refused to do it ever again. Not only does the music work as standalone pieces, but they do something that I really wish more games would do nowadays, matching the context of the scene you're in. Things like grungy areas being slightly more industrial, and the creepy forest area having more of a tribal feel to it did really well to sell this being a unique world even more. The final point is that the game has ran as smooth as silk, pun intended, right from its launch, and there wasn't a single bug or crash in my 60 hours of playtime. This stands as a testament to the level of polish and care that went into making sure they delivered a product that was stable and respected the player, a goal which seems unshared by studios with significantly more resources to spare. The economy of this game is rough. Like farming Concords in Dark Souls 3 levels of rough. No really. I'd sooner be a homeless person during the 2008 housing crisis than try to make a living in this world. And yes, I know they patched it to be slightly more forgiving, but if you played this game at launch like I did, then you would know how utterly unpleasant the rosary system was. Ari, William, and Jack really said, wouldn't it be funny if we made one of the worst economy systems in gaming since microtransactions? And really omega-lolled on us all. Even the farming runs you're forced to engage with to have any meaningful sense of progression were incredibly tedious, as they're literally just running back and forth to kill the same 4 enemies over and over and over again. Wait a second! Maybe this was all some sort of social commentary about the backbreaking labor farmers put in to keep society afloat and how we should take more time to appreciate their blood, sweat, and tears. Nope, it's just a stupid system that was designed to be more punishing than fun. The abysmally depressing economy is made worse by how sometimes unrewarding it is to use those rosaries you work so hard to obtain. Many tools and upgrades you can buy are super niche and don't live up to the effort it takes to acquire them. I had to actually stop myself from going full 07 Britney Spears mode when I discovered that the multi-binder, something that took me about 20 minutes of non-stop efficient farming to get, was so fucking useless outside of hyper niche situations that it's just an objective downgrade to include in your kit. Tools are not the only victim of this problem, sadly. I am aware that including the optional benches was a way to alleviate some of the frustrations of running back to that boss that just killed you for the 1000th time. But it really felt like a band-aid solution rather than the much better, highly interconnected environments approach that the Dark Souls series, well, the first one at least, took. On the plus side, I guess Team Cherry fixes their problems the exact same way as I do. They don't. For some reason, Silksong decided to make its approach to challenge and difficulty the gameplay equivalent of cock and ball torture. It engages in some of the most exhaustingly unsatisfying design choices I've ever seen, all for the sake of being needlessly hard. It honestly baffles me how people will tear into other games for spongy enemies or bosses that deal ludicrous amounts of damage, yet combine those two together and introduce the ancient mystical art of random bullshit go, and you've somehow got the makings of perfect combat design. Now, before you play the tedious game of whose cojones has the stronger gravitational pull, I'm no stranger to difficult games, okay? I danced with the devil in Cuphead and heard hesitation is defeat in Sekiro more times than I love you from my parents. I even managed to get through 10 minutes of Dark Souls 2 without yeeting myself off the Empire State Building. Of course, that won't stop some people from spamming get good like a bunch of knuckle-dragging troglodytes, but I want to point out that enemy damage and health are actually not my major gripes with the game. In fact, I'd be a lot more okay with them if not for these next two things. First is the obnoxious contact damage system. If it were music, it would be that fuck-ass song Anxiety. Forced, annoying, and for some reason barely critiqued by anyone. In games like Cuphead and Metroid, contact damage made sense as a punishment for bad positioning, because you were not obligated to get in the enemy's face as your main source of damage. Silksong, however, demands that of you while forcing you to contend with multiple highly mobile enemies at the same time. Sure, Hornet is meant to be an agile and dexterous warrior, but the game doesn't reward you for playing that way at all. Most fights require you to spend half your time jumping around like Tyrone Biggums just to do a minuscule amount of damage. This completely ruins the premise of you being some badass deadly assassin, and for a game that puts so much emphasis on your needle, it's funny that it functions more like a wet noodle than a weapon. Speaking of nonsensical difficulty, comes my second gripe with this game. Simply put, is the excessive clusterfuck of ridiculous things you're forced to contend with. The Last Judge boss fight and the infamous anti-homeless bench trap perfectly encapsulates the game-confusing punishment for trolling. Punishing deaths are meant to make you suffer for your greed and impulsivity, not just a test of how fast you react to ridiculous nonsense thrown your way. Getting punted off a ledge by a hollow in Dark Souls makes sense because you very clearly weren't paying attention to that conspicuous doorway. Silksong, however, was too busy role-playing as the Cenobites from Hellraiser to consider that point, and really suffers for it as a result. For those of you who didn't stop watching to perform blood sacrifices to Mzinchilef in hopes of ending my bloodline, just know that I completely respect it if you yourself enjoyed the game. But there's a big difference between being personally happy with something and arguing that it's objectively good. There are plenty of people who loved Fallout 76 from the get-go, but it still had tremendous flaws. And if these parts of Silksong were in any game that didn't have as much hype surrounding it, most people would absolutely rip those games to shreds. Nevertheless, if you made it this far and would like to share your thoughts on the game, please let me know in the comments why you agree or disagree. Otherwise, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate the growth this channel has seen recently, and I am forever grateful to you, the viewer, for your time and interest. That being said, if you like the video, remember to like and share it with your friends, and maybe subscribe if you'd like to see what other takes I might give in the near future. Until next time, I'm off, and I hope to see you soon.